Hello and welcome back to Froch on Fighting with me, Carl the Cobra Froch, MBE, former unified super middleweight world boxing champion and an International Boxing Hall of Famer. This episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino. Right, so there was a massive night of boxing last night in Saudi Arabia with a great undercard, obviously topping the bill, Beterbiev and Bivol. We'll start with that straight away and we'll get into the undercard next because there's lots to talk about that as well. But first of all, can I just say what a fantastic top of the bill it was. Proper boxing at high elite level. This was a fight that was very, very close. It was difficult to pick a winner. In my opinion, I'll go straight in with what I thought. I thought that Bivol did enough to win. I thought it was a close fight. You could have made a case for both men, but I just think on my scorecard and the way I see a fight, the way I score a fight, Bivol, which is the correct way to score a fight, let's be honest, the Cobra knows what he's doing. Bivol did enough to win. I think it was a close-ish fight, but he did enough to win. He started off fast like he notoriously does, started off quick. He nicked the first 2-3 rounds. He was looking solid, fast, sharp behind his jab, combination punches, manoeuvring around the ring. Beterbiev, notoriously as well, starts very slow. He likes to get into it, and he was a slow start for him. Never really landed anything eye-catching at all. And actually, most of the eye-catching punches did come from Bivol throughout the night. I just thought that Bivol landed some nice, clean, accurate shots, combinations, albeit a lot of them on the arms and gloves and, you know, around the side of the head with the gloves up by the cheekbones. But I just think with the good start that Bivol put in, getting 2 or 3 rounds in the bank, and then the middle section of the fight, it ebbed and flowed. Beterbiev had his moments of success and landed some nice eye-catching shots. I've never seen Bivol on his under as much pressure that he was on and struggle as much as he did. This is definitely his hardest fight. And same with Beterbiev. I've never seen Beterbiev under the pressure. I know he's been on the floor in his career, but this was definitely his hardest fight, which is a testament to both fighters. It really does show how good and the level of class that these two boxers have got, because this fight was very close, nip-tuck. It really was a boxing purist, a boxing enthusiastic fight. I mean, I'm going to watch it back again and probably again. It's one of them fights where you sit and watch and enjoy and appreciate the art of pugilism from both these guys. But anyway, Bivol started sharp. Then it ebbed and flowed throughout the middle section. And Beterbiev, for me, I mean, I'm not saying Bivol threw it away, but he lost it in the last couple of rounds. Beterbiev finished strong like he does. He comes on strong, he goes for the finish. It's interesting as well because his corner men were saying to him, you need the knockout. You've got to get the knockout. Knock him out or you're going to lose the fight, pretty much they were saying. Now, whether or not that was reverse psychology and pretty good corner work from my point of view, I mean, because Beterbiev was never going to go out and do anything erratic, but he did finish strong, so they got the best out of him. So when the finish came towards the end, he was having lots of success. He was putting Bivol on his back foot. He may have even lost it in that last round. I mean, what were the scores? 114, 114 a draw, 115, 113 for Beterbiev. I mean, that was the same card as me and Andre Ward, actually. The Ward. the Froch haters are going to love that one. 115, 113. I mean, that's a 1-round swing. And then 116, 112 against Bivol, which I thought was a bit wide. I mean, you can't say 116, 112. And you're saying basically there that Bivol only won 4 rounds, so that's out of order. I think, in my opinion, the wrong man got his hand held. I think the best case you could make for Beterbiev in that fight would have been a draw. It was a fantastic fight, really enjoyed it. And unfortunately, I do think that the wrong man got his hand held. But it's subjective scoring, it's open to massive opinion. And there is a lot of people thinking, actually, that Beterbiev did enough to win the fight. And he's landing a couple of heavy shots. He's putting Bivol on his back foot for a lot of the fight. And when Bivol's working, throwing fast combination punches, a lot of the stuff's being blocked on the arms and gloves. So you have to take that into consideration with these judges when they're scoring the fights. But all around, it was a fantastic boxing match between 2 elite level athletes. The art of pugilism at its finest right there. And we definitely need a rematch. So what's next for these two fighters? And I just alluded to it there. The immediate rematch, I think, in my opinion, needs to happen. Beterbiev's pushing 40. I think in January he turns 40. So how many more fights has he got left in him realistically? And, you know, people like Anthony Yard, Beterbiev's already beaten. You've got Joshua Buatsi. He's sort of hanging around now at that level where he wants to be fighting for a world title. But unfortunately, in my opinion, he's not of that level. Great fighter. Shout out to Buatsi, top guy. But is not of this level. This is like the top tier. I mean, this was a unification fight. Bivol, Bivol's already beaten Canelo Alvarez, one of the best in the business to do it. So for me, it makes no sense these two guys fighting anybody else. There has to be, for me, an immediate rematch. And can I also just say as well, Beterbiev Bivol, what a classy operator inside and outside the ring. He never made any complaints. He could have really complained and said, listen, that was a robbery. There's many British fighters that would have been moaning and saying, that's a robbery. I mean, Eddie Hearn, sorry. He was going absolutely mental, 116, 112, and I suppose rightly so, 116, 112, but he's only giving Beterbiev Bivol 4 rounds. That was a bit of a disgrace, but then again, that just shows the subjective scoring. The rounds that were close in the middle, that ebbed and flowed, it just depends which way you go. Whether they obviously ticked the box for Beterbiev and they scored him them close rounds, which means that Bivol, on one of the scorecards, was only 4 rounds a winner, only won 4 rounds, which just sounds ridiculous because when you watch the fight, it was so close. If anybody should have got the handheld there, it was Bivol. Bivol was, like I've already said, magnanimous in defeat. He took it on the chin. It was so classy. He just said, look, I got beat by the better man. I believe he said. He just oozes class, doesn't he? He just doesn't make any complaints, gets on with it. And I feel a bit sorry for him because he loves boxing. Boxing's his life, as is Beterbiev as well. But Bivol he makes no excuses, no complaints, and he really got hard done to there. I mean, I think the best result there that should have been for Beterbiev would have been a draw. If it was a draw, you would say, okay, no arguments. Bivol probably nicked it, but a draw, I can see why, and it's close. And that's why I'm saying we need to see an immediate rematch. These two guys shouldn't fight anybody else. It should just be them two, again, back in there for the unification light heavyweight title, because these guys deserve it. And like I said, Beterbiev is pushing 40, and it won't be long before he decides to hang his gloves up. So before I get into the undercard and the chief support, the next one, Fabio Wardley, Clarke, I just want to touch on Saudi Arabia. What's going on for the boxing out in Saudi? How's it looking? Is everyone enjoying it? The atmosphere, has it improved? To be honest, they've got Missy Elliott, they've got Buster Rhymes, shout out to Buster Rhymes, remember him from back in the day, still going strong as well. Sierra, they've got like a mini concert. I understand they've got to fill gap because of the TV obligations, you've got time. But there was a competition to win a car. There was loads going off. To be honest, anything to try and get some spark and some atmosphere going, because it's fucking diabolical. I'm sorry, but the atmosphere is not working for me. I mean, it's flat as you like, empty seats everywhere. Eddie Hills was saying that it's sold out, 12,000, but it's not the case, is it? There was empty seats everywhere. Ringside seats were empty. People were coming and going, same old, same old. You feel like there's no interest in the boxing sometimes with the fans. It's almost like they've been dragged there and they've gone there against their will. And you've got top level, elite level fights going off. And I don't know, I'm still on the fence with how it works out in Saudi Arabia in terms of the boxing and the atmosphere. I think boxing, out of loads of sports, you can pick so many sports, boxing is the one sport that needs an atmosphere. But enough about that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And you know what I'm like here on Froch on Fighting. I just tell the truth. I say it how it is. So anyway, Fabio Wardley, Clarke, the rematch. Just did not go how I expected. 1 round blast up by Fabio Wardley. Fair play. But fucking hell. What happened to Clarke? He got clumped bad from the opener. I think what happened here is Clarke came out in round 1. Very slow. A little bit switched off. Not concentrating. And Fabio Wardley, total opposite to that, came out firing on all cylinders, sharp behind his jab, loading up that big right hand out of range, missing with a couple of them, and giving Clarke the opportunity to counter him. I mean, it was a bit reckless at times, but he got the job done. Fabio Wardley went in there like a man on a mission, behind the jab, teeing up the big right hand. And to be honest, when Clarke sat there like a deer in the headlights, just waiting to be smacked upside the head, clumped. The last right hand that hit him, I mean, there was a couple of right hands that hit him and hurt him. He went down, he got up, and then he was just shell-shocked, stood there with his guard down, almost turning away, and Fabio Wardley took advantage. But that last right hand that he threw, it's like an overhand swing looping right hand, like a big bolo shot, landed clean on the side of the temple of Clarke, and it didn't look good. Almost instantly, when you watch it on playback, he got a dent in the side of his head, and the side of his face and his mouth was sort of dropped as he was trying to get up. He looked like he was in bad trouble, and he looked like he's sustained some damage there and some injury. I hope that he fully recovers from that, and I hope there's no lasting effects and no future problems for him. But that looked like a bad punch that landed square on the side of the head, left the dint like I've said, and it looked like it did some serious damage. So hopefully Fraser Clarke makes a full recovery from that. But it's getting on now. He turned pro late, Olympic bronze medalist. We expected him to go on and do well as a professional. He's had a slow burning career, and now after that beating, I think this may be the last we hear of him. People always say, oh, Froch is saying or telling people to retire. Listen, the health for me is paramount in boxing. Like I talked about Anthony Joshua when he got clipped a couple of times, then dropped in round 5 by Daniel Dubois. It's the health that's more important. Forget the old Bunsen burner. There comes a stage when you count your pennies and you say, actually, I've smashed it. I've won in life. Now my health's more important than anything. And yeah, I think Fraser Clarke, hopefully he's going to be fine. But it just looked like a bad knockout and a bad night for him. But fair play. Fabio Wardley did the business, got the win, and nobody expected it. So onwards and upwards for Fabio Wardley. So what next for Fabio Wardley? I mean, he's defended his British title a few times. He's gone the route that I'd want him to go based on the fact that he's got no amateur experience. He comes from a white-collar background. So it's almost a bit of a fairy tale story, isn't it? I mean, who would you fight next? You probably put him in there with Johnny Fisher. I mean, Fisher will give him a good fight. Every time we doubt Fabio Wardley, he goes in there and knocks people out. What's he had? Out of his 18 fights, he's had a draw, and now he's avenged that draw by knocking out Fraser Clarke in a round. And so every single one of his wins is by knockout. So he can obviously bang. He's a big heavyweight puncher. But you feel like he's not of the level of sort of Usyk or Tyson. So I'd probably like to see him in there with Johnny Fisher, someone like Dillian Whyte who manages him, maybe Joseph Parker. Maybe Joseph Parker's a good fight for him because Parker's flying at the minute. It's a good fight. I would actually think that the Joseph Parker fight would be too much for Fabio Wardley. But write off Fabio Wardley at your peril because he goes in there and he punches really hard. He's certainly not of the level where you're going to step up to someone like Usyk or Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. Well, actually, having said that, I'm not going to give Anthony Joshua a stick, but let's be honest. If Fabio Wardley clipped Anthony Joshua upside the head and sent them legs into that little dance he does, what would happen there? I mean, it'd be really, really interesting, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, if you're managing Fabio Wardley, I think take your time with him. What is he, 29, 30 years old? Take your time with him a little bit more. But I think it's time too soon to let go of them reins and let him just go. Maybe the Parker fight could be a wise fight, but certainly exciting and certainly a fairy tale story for Fabio Wardley. And I'm looking forward to see where he goes. But fair play to him. He's beat my old mate up, Fraser Clarke. I hope Fraser Clarke makes a full recovery, but Fabio Wardley deserves all the credit. So another interesting fight on the undercard was Chris Eubank Jr., the guy that fights once every year. I mean, he's not busy enough for me. Good fighter. I think Zarameta, he had a good go. Tough lad, kept getting up, climbed off the floor about 4 times. Referee stopped the fight in round 7. I think he'd seen enough. Eubank Jr, yeah, looking for the power punches, leaving his chin in the air a little bit, getting caught with jabs. He's showed that he's quite ragged. He doesn't belong at world level, does he, Chris Eubank Jr? But I don't think he's that interested in becoming a world champion. He just wants to make the old, you know what. But he's there, isn't he, with his footballer friend. Is it Neymar? I'm not a massive footballer. I don't know much about football. I know enough, but Neymar was there, and he's of that circle. He likes to play poker. He likes to do little celebrity appearances here and there, and he's got that celebrity little sprinkle of dust on him, hasn't he? Where all he wants to do is turn up to boxing matches, make money as easy as possible, and go home. And why not? Because let's be honest, he's not good enough, is he, to compete at world level? And that's why I mentioned Conor Benn, because that's the big fight that could be the big money fight. It's a fight that will probably be in Saudi Arabia as well. I mean, I'd rather see that one in Britain because Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Sr., they've got that history, and it'd be nice to see these two fight in Britain. But we'll wait and see. But Conor Benn, I mean, this is a guy that's not fought in Britain for 3 years. I think his last fight was in April 2022. And every time he talks, every time he gets in Chris Eubank's face over the last couple of days, I do feel for him a little bit. Can I first just say that Conor Benn, I know him and I've met him a few times, and he's such a nice kid, such a lovely, lovely young man. And when I say that, I don't mean he's lovely, and he's obviously a fighter, and he wants to get in there and he wants to do some damage and hurt his opponent and get the knockout, and that's how he fights, and he's exciting when he fights. But he's not fucking fought anybody, and he's talking like a roadman killer. And I don't get it. I understand he's got to sell the fight and he's got to try and big the fight up, but the fight's there anyway. It's Eubank and Benn, or Benn Eubank. It's the name. The names are there. And also, Ben's got to go up to 160 pounds. I think he's going to struggle, Conor Benn, against Chris Eubank up at 160. Eubank can bang a little bit. He's quite tough. I've sparred him quite a few rounds and he gave me good spars, Chris Eubank Jr. I've got to be honest. He can tough it out in there. So Conor Benn talking like this is an easy fight, talking like it's going to be a mismatch, he's going to walk through him, he's going to smash him to bits. I understand he's got to sell the fight, but careful what you wish for, because when you get in there and the reality starts raining in on the side of your head and straight in your face, and Chris Eubank starts swinging away and leaning his extra weight on you because he's naturally bigger, this could be more difficult than Conor Benn thinks. I understand he's trying to sell it. Eddie Hills is giving it the big one, trying to sell it and saying that Conor Benn, I don't know, sort of saying it's going to be an easy fight. I just don't see where he's going to get his confidence from. He's not been busy, he's fought no one. And can you answer me a question as well? What's happening with this drug testing issue? Is he banned? Is he serving a ban? Is there any official news? Because as far as I know, he's still not got a British Boxing Board of Control licence to fight. He still can't box. So does anybody know? Let me know in the comments. Is Conor Benn serving a ban and it's a silent ban? They're not telling us about it. It's an exciting fight, the Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight. Conor Benn makes me laugh the way he jumps in there and the way he talks, because, like I say, he talks like this roadman killer. But you look at his record and let's be honest, he's not done anything, has he? And Chris Eubank Jr. has not done anything major, but he's been in there with a couple of world champions, and Billy Joe Saunders. He's been in there with George Groves, albeit he got beat, but he's had a go. He's dared to be great. I mean, Conor Benn's not even won a British title. He's not really fought of any level. And when he fought Chris Algieri, that was a decent win for him, knockout win. But Chris Algieri was well finished and well past his best, so you can't take anything from that. And it was so long ago, it doesn't even matter. So anyway, I do want to see Conor Benn fight Chris Eubank Jr. I like both these guys. You know what I'm like, I'm just honest. I'd like the fight to be in Britain if it happens. It might be in Saudi Arabia, but if the fight happens, I'll be pleased. But Conor Benn needs to really get on with his career, and we've been saying it now for 2 years. So is it going to happen? We'll just have to sit back and wait. So also on the undercard, Jai Opetaia and Jack Massey. Can I just say, I mean, Jai Opetaia, I'll start with him. He's the IBF and Ring Magazine champion at cruiserweight, 29 years old. He's unbeaten in 26 fights, 20 knockouts. This is a guy that's really, really good fighter. I like him. I think he's got a lot to give the sport, and I think he's still got a good future in the sport. He's unbeaten. The guy can fight. Jack Massey, come on, let's give him some credit. He just tries, doesn't he? He got in there, he's of the level. Let's say he's of British level, but he's jumping in there in Saudi. I hope he made a few quid. And 31 years old. He's got Joe Gallagher in his corner, and that was a real nice, timely stoppage. Very experienced Joe Gallagher, top trainer, knows the business inside out. And he jumped in there and stopped the fight exactly, for me, when it needed stopping. Because Jack Massey wasn't going to give up. He just keeps firing away, keeps punching away. He's in the fight because he's good for 5-6 rounds, and he throws punches and he means it and he means business. But what happens to Jack Massey is, because he's not of that elite level athlete standard, he runs out of gas, and as soon as he starts flagging and starts blowing and breathing heavy, it comes on top for him. And to be an elite level fighter, you really do have to have that elite level fitness and experience as well, and talent. And I'm not beating up Jack Massey. Fair play to him. He came, he did what he tried to do, dared to be great. He fought Jai Opetaia as a top fighter, and he's done himself proud. But like I said, timely stoppage by Joe Gallagher, and Jack Massey can hold his head high and proud he put in a good performance. And I've got to finish on Jai Opetaia, who's the champ. I think he should be fighting the winner of Chris Billam-Smith and Ramirez. I think that's a good fight for him. I'd like to see him fight CBS, Chris Billam-Smith, because I think that'd be a great opportunity and a great chance for Chris Billam-Smith. Dare to be great, go in there. You know what Chris Billam-Smith like? He wears his heart on his sleeve. He goes in there and he tries until the very dying breath. So yeah, fight I'd like to see. But Jai Opetaia, top fighter, and I think he's still got a very, very fruitful future. Also on the undercard, Skye Nicolson, the WBC featherweight champion. She beat Raven Chapman, who was undefeated, in a fight that I found quite boring, to be honest. It was quite painful to watch. I mean, there's been some great female fights in Britain, and we know Katie Taylor, Tasha Jonas, Savannah Marshall. These fighters just they give us some great nights of boxing. Forget whether they're male or female. They're just really, really good fighters. But this wasn't one of them. It was the first world title fight over in Saudi Arabia. So what? But they made a bit of a deal of that. But it is what it is. So also on the undercard, Ben Whittaker against Liam Cameron. Has the Ben Whittaker freight train been derailed? This is a bad look. I'm sure Turkey TV Ben Shalom is a bit disappointed because he looked like he was in trouble, didn't he? He looked like he was coming under the cosh for him. He looked like he was not having it all his own way. I mean, Liam Cameron, he looked stronger. When he was landing a few shots, he looked like he was getting to Whittaker. Whittaker, for the first time for me, looked vulnerable. I don't know if there was something wrong with him. I don't know if he'd had a bad camp or what was going off. Travelling out to Saudis took a bit of steam out of him. But for me, he looked a little bit lethargic. I'm not making excuses for him because it's boxing. You make the weight, you get in. If you're ill, you don't fight. But Ben Whittaker looked like he was struggling in there. And Cameron was pulling it on him a bit, firing back, leaning on him, getting close to him. And it just looked too strong for Ben Whittaker. And it's worrying because when he steps up to the world level, which everybody's expecting him to get to, everybody who's promoting him, everybody in the game, because he's got that Olympic silver medal, is a prospect, a big prospect to go on and potentially do well at world level. He just looked like, for me, he looked a bit vulnerable. He looked like he was struggling in there. He didn't like it. He was under the cosh. And then obviously the bizarreness of round 5, was it round 5? Was it the end of round 5? He got sort of held onto, or he held, and then Cameron leaned on him and they both went over the top rope and both went crashing down onto the side of the canvas. Now for me, and I've looked at it in slow-mo and I've studied it, I didn't see any impact or any land. I don't know if his foot went off the ring and caught the edge of the steps, but there's allegedly that Whittaker's corner was saying to him, stay down, let's not get back in the ring, just let's make a deal of this. And it's ended up as a draw. So I don't know how true that is, that's allegedly, but I do think that the fight could have gone on. So some people are saying that Ben Whittaker actually quit, and it would make sense because he was under the cosh, he was getting out-muscled in there, he looked like it was coming on top. It was an interesting fight for him. If he'd have come through that fight and won and finished strong, got the win, you just said that was a good learning fight for him. But it was coming under fire and under pressure, a good learning fight, and then that happened, which was unfortunate over the top rope, and then the fight was over. It's ended up a draw. I think Cameron's really pissed off. And Ben Whittaker's probably happy about the fight just being finished. He went off in a wheelchair and he was cradling his ankle or his Achilles tendon, something with his foot. So yeah, we'll have to see what transpires from that. But whichever way you look at it, Ben Whittaker, he unravelled a little bit there. So you have to be concerned about how much of a prospect he's going to be at world level. Hopefully he can come back fit and strong and show us all that he's the star he is. Because I love watching him fight. I love his razzmatazz. I love his energy and his nonchalance in that ring and the confidence. But he just looked a bit out-muscled in there last night. And the way he exited in that wheelchair, I just think, for me, it was a little bit of looking for a way out. I'm not saying he quit, but definitely a bit ropey the way that fight finished. Excuse the pun. So that's it for another episode of Froch on fighting. Bivol, Beterbiev, they need to get it on again. I feel for Bivol, but both guys really did themselves proud. I hope sincerely hope Fraser Clarke is okay. That was a bad knockout for him. Fair play to Fabio Wardley on that one. It was just a great week, a great fight week in Saudi Arabia, a great build-up. You've got Conor Benn sticking it on Eubank when he's just about to get on the scales and he's a weak man like Gollum. You know, when you're doing weight, you feel weak and tired and drained. He's got Conor Benn sticking it on him, but it made for good viewing. I think that fight's going to be big when it happens. Yeah, the only negative really was the shit atmosphere in Saudi Arabia, which we know about. But the build-up was great, the fights were great, boxing was good, and yeah, we'll look forward to what's next. And the only other thing I need to mention is because people have been messaging me. What happened with old Turkey Teeth, Shalom, Bricktop and Eddie Hills? They're all stood there waiting for the weigh-in to start between Chris Eubank Jr. just about to stand in, obviously stand in front of the scales for the cameras. And Shalom promotes Chris Eubank Jr. So he wants to get his face in front of the camera. But Bricktop was sort of in his way, so Shalom gets in front of him and you see Bricktop's hand sort of push him on the back. And Shalom, fair play to him, he stood his ground, stood firm, give it the stance, and he got in the pictures. And then him and Bricktop after, you could see him having words. And Shalom after has said that, you know, they're trying to push him out a little bit. Obviously, Queensberry and Bricktop, aka Frank Warren, they promote the show. So it's their event. They're the main guys. Everyone else is kind of just picking up the crumbs on the undercard. But yeah, fair play to Shalom. He got his way in. But Bricktop, he was the one getting pissed off, and he stuck it on Shalom. And Shalom defended himself. And he did talk after and say that, listen, if he was my granddad, I'd have told him to calm down a little bit. So I think he's took it on the chin. I think Bricktop had to just calm it down a little bit because he was getting a bit animated and a bit over the top. But yeah, it was all fun and games. But like I said, it was a great night of boxing. And we just look forward to the next one. And the next one's probably just going to be Usyk, Tyson Fury. And that's the big one. And I like what Tyson Fury is saying on the build-up. And apparently he's in the gym and he's smashing it. So that should be a great rematch. But there'll be a few bits happening before then. And I will, as usual, be back next week. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Get yourself on Spotify. Get yourself on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star rating. The biggest and best and fastest growing boxing channel, I got that right, in the business. The most viewed boxing channel in the business. People are sweating. I'm getting messages back. People are panicking. The Cobra, Froch on Fighting, is leading the way. We are. I'm not going to say any more because people don't like it when I big myself up. But thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe and we'll see you next week.